first question. So you said that 80% students, that's the primary market. How big is the market? How many students are there out there? How many of these transactions are likely to be? I mean, it makes the basic product makes sense. People have to review other people's papers in order to get someone to review theirs, and then it's like the old link exchange from the ancient days. You review 2 papers, you get 1 reviewed, and then you sell off the extra ones to people who don't have time to review another paper. So basic model makes sense, but how big is that market?
Do I answer that?
Would you want it to be on a slide? Or?
I would probably want it to be on the slide, just because, again, a lot of us investors are older and don't remember don't know. For all we know, they don't write papers in college.
Would you put it right after slide 6? Like, so what was it? Slide 6 with the graph?
User.
No, go ahead. Yeah. Would you do it right after this slide?
No, actually, I would push it further up. I want it earlier on. So if I scroll further up, there's the point. Let's keep going back. Yeah, right after that build slide, you would say, listen, do you want to know how big this problem is? There are 10 million students in the United States. They write an average of 20 papers a year. That means there's 200 million papers that are going on right now. And if the students had a way to do this, then it would be worth this amount of money.
So what I would say is, like, when I was listening to the flow, so the flow is getting much better. One thing I noticed was, like, it took about a minute before you got from the beginning to the end of slide 2. Like, sorry, from the beginning of the pitch to the end of slide 2.
Right.
You may want to, like, actually, so I think that story is good. I think you may just want to actually write that down and, like, not memorize it, but at least be a little more crisp about it. And then I think, like, given the flow, I think you could actually move slide 5 further up, like even right after slide 2, just like Chris is saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's probably another slide there too, which is like a market
sizing. Yeah.
Like maybe it goes something like you go through slide 2 and then it's like, and it turns out that like 80% of our users are students, or maybe it's like, and we've been seeing some pretty awesome growth. It turns out we're not the only ones that need this. We learned that 80% of them are students, and you got a slide for that, and then you get into like how it all works and why it's Anybody else have any feedback?
I can always jump back in.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So a couple of other things. One thing that you don't explain, you sort of touch on it in passing, I think, just by showing the screenshot, is that all the editing is actually taking place on your platform. So there's some sophisticated technology here. And you want to say, hey, this is not just an exchange where people review papers.
Yeah.
Part of it is there's this special sauce where we have this platform for reviewing the papers.
Do you have any, when you visualize what that looks like, what is it, how would you describe that, you think?
Well, pull up the slide where it exists.
There's
There it is.
Slide, is this one or slide 3?
3 and 4 both have it, I think. And I would agree that second slide is a little too long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's especially if you're saying, well, 80% of it is students. Well, shoot, just talk about students, and there's also professionals and other folks who might want to look at it, but that's a secondary market for us. So when you show edited by another user, that's a whole, that's almost a whole product in and of itself, right? This whole notion of, hey, there's this system that allows you to edit. I'm not sure whether it allows multiple people to edit or it's only intended for one person to edit it, but I would want a little more clarity on that because it sounds like, there's a lot encapsulated in that. When you talk about, edited by another user, I think like you said, yeah, I read it, looks pretty good. All right, give me my review. Right? And what you're saying is, no, we're actually able to tell that the person spent time and did all these things. That's sophisticated. That's barrier to entry. And I'd like to hear more about it. Exactly.
So that third one you're saying is the moneymaker.
Exactly, because all the rest of the stuff is trivial, off the shelf. You know how anyone can build that. That part, and again, anyone can build it, but you know what I mean. That part there and the way that you've thought about it is what sort of separates you apart.
One other thing, by the way, on slide 2, like, one idea might be for slide 2, maybe what you do is like you put, what are their names,
Caitlin, Oliver, and Adam.
So put Oliver and Adam first and then put Caitlin at the end.
Yeah.
And then that might be a smoother transition into the idea of most of our users are, oh no, sorry.
No,
Oliver's actually
Oliver's the
student.
student.
Last.
Yeah, make Oliver the last one. Anybody else, any feedback? No?
Flow is much better actually, like comparing, especially on the product part and the transition. Definitely much better.
About like just explanation and
So the other part of it is, I mean, and again, maybe it's too early to talk about this, but you know, let's talk about channels and how do you get to the marketplace? Because obviously, you know, part of it, it's growing. That's great. Growing from a relatively small base. How does this get to be something that millions and millions of students use? What is the mechanism by which this occurs? Is it, you know, do you have some sort of built-in mechanism where every person you refer gives you an extra review for free? Is it viral incentivized that way? Is there some sort of thing that causes this to generate millions and millions of student users?
So how much of that do I actually get into on the deck and the pitch deck?
Which part?
I mean, what you were just
So
saying.
you guys are doing a demo day, so how long does he have?
4 minutes.
4 minutes. So you can't get into all
No,
those
no,
no.
details.
I think it's more about, like, I think you could actually, I think there's a way to present, like, that the market for students is huge without, like, the original slides you had with those big bar charts.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would go that far, but I think there is a way to kind of, like, maybe we can talk about softball,
Yeah,
but there is a way to kind of show that that market is
The
big.
classic way is just do a slide with like 3 numbers on it,
Right.
right? Just like,
Yep.
this is the number of students, this is the number of papers a year they write, this is the total number of papers we could be addressing,
Yeah.
and you know it's huge.
Sorry, keep going, Chris. Go ahead and set up. We'll set up the next one while you're talking. Keep going.
All right. So yeah, no. When you got 4 minutes, I think the key is it's a very clear concept. So everyone's going to get it. Oh, I got it. It's like link exchange for paper reviews. All right. If anyone actually wants what the hell link exchange is at this point. So the big question is then establishing. All right, is this market big enough so that someday we can get a VC to invest in it? Because most companies do eventually need one of those guys to invest. And the other is, okay, how do we get this to enough students? Because it ends up being an execution play. I think it's interesting to get into sort of the special sauce behind the reviewing platform. You should emphasize that. But at the end of the day, it's also going to be just about, okay, we have 100,000 students using it. We've talked to the dean, you know, the writing centers for these 20 schools, and they're adopting it, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But, you know, very clear understanding. It very clearly expresses what you're up to and the value that you're bringing to people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.